At the Alexander Pushkin High School in Sofia, voters arrive in the shadow of literary history. Bulgaria has been holding democratic elections since the end of communist rule in 1990. In its more recent political history, there has seldom been a state of such bitter deadlock.
We are all very confused and I don't know what's going to happen.
We have the benefit of free movement of people, but we are not part of the economic environment of Europe. That may be our fault because of the corruption and all our other problems.
A scandal erupted on Saturday with reports of the seizure of hundreds of thousands of extra ballot papers like this one at a printing firm connected to one of the major parties. There have been widespread reports of cash offered for votes and illegal wiretapping ahead of the election. It all adds to the febrile atmosphere of politics here in Bulgaria and an election campaign that's been far more about mudslinging than debate over policy. Thousands filled the streets earlier this year protesting against that political inertia, the inability or unwillingness of the government to deal with corruption, crime and unemployment, low wages and high prices. The protests forced this early election, with the centre-right GERB party of former Prime Minister Boyko Borisov neck and neck with a past party of power, the opposition socialists. It's quite likely to mean the return of old faces, says a member of the interim technocratic administration.
People say that there are no new ideas in politics, that the politicians running for the elections bring nothing new. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I'm agree, because many of people who are running in these elections are same.
Bulgaria has suffered political and economic crisis for months. The poorest member of the European Union, another casualty on its outside fringes. This time, there's little hope of solutions at the ballot box.
Well, to talk a little more about this idea of corruption in the election and perhaps the idea of democracy under threat here in Bulgaria, I'm joined by Mira Badjeva, a former talk show host and blogger. Thanks for joining us, Mira. Have you ever known, has Bulgaria known in its recent history this level of alleged corruption during an election?
Never, and I'm so disappointed about this because so many suspicions, so many allegations, such level of corruption as we see in these elections. Well, it's quite disappointing for us, all Bulgarians, I mean.
And extraordinary, really, to be happening inside the European Union. We heard a man in my report there saying that we may have freedom of movement within the European Union, but we don't enjoy many of the economic benefits. Perhaps it's our fault, he said, all of this corruption. Do you think it's Bulgaria's fault?
No, I think that the fault is common. I mean, the European Union as well didn't do a lot of things which they could do, the countries in the European Union, for us, to help us, because yes, we are a poor country, we have a lot of problems, but we are very vivid people, and we show that we need your help, the help of European Union as well. So it's not only our problem.
We know about all the protests in February, of course. The protest leaders have said they're watching closely. If they don't like what they see, they'll come out in protest again. What do you think is going to be the outcome of this election, the immediate outcome? Well,
maybe there will be a limited government. I mean, government which will be made by a wide coalition, only for 1 year in power, and maybe they will try to solve some of the problems which we have, especially in the economy. But the problem is that we'll face a big destabilization, a political destabilization, I mean.
And do you think there will be street protests to follow if, let's say, again, we see some of the same faces back in power?
Yes, especially if the ruling party will be again in power. We'll see very, very big protests on the streets again.
Mira Badjeva, thank you so much for talking to us. So, an election perhaps under threat, marred already by allegations of attempted fraud and vote rigging, as I say, the polls to close in a couple of hours' time, protests possibly to follow.
All right, thanks so much, Jonah Halsting, across all those developments for us there as parliamentary elections get underway in Bulgaria.